And of course, you can play poorly and lose. I just wanted my team to play well. Not in the tournament. That we knew we had to do. Right now, today, in the first game. So I was looking for somebody to be a rival, like Red Sox, Yankees, Alabama, Auburn, and so on. And we really, and don't take this the wrong way, but we really didn't have anybody in the state of Louisiana. And now, of course, we had a lot of SEC teams that were super. And I told him about Edwin Moses. And I think this is a good start for you guys. No one in the history of athletics ever had a stranglehold on an event like this kid. He was 6'2", 170, he's from Morehouse College. His event was the 440 high hurdles. He took exactly 13 steps between each high hurdle, one time around the track. That's all he ran. All right, I'm at the 88 Olympics. I'm the pitching coach at the 88 Olympics. All right, in Seoul, Korea. And the Mark Marquis from Stanford was the head coach of this gold medal winning team. We watch Edwin Moses as they line up. And Edwin Moses, who had won, ready for this, 107 straight races over nearly 10 years. He won 122 of 125 over his career. Everybody hunted him. Everybody wanted to beat him. He was 33 years old in 1988 in Seoul. And he runs the best time that he ever ran. But he gets beat. I mean, beat by the space between my thumb and finger here. And of course, he was beaten by a 29-year-old guy named Andre Phillips, who had chased Moses for 10 years. You know, since he was 20 years old, almost 10 years, he chased him, and he finally caught him. And what I'm saying to you is, guys, if you have goals, and people are going to chase you because you're one of the better ones, then you want to get the most out of the people who chase you, and that in turn will get your team to do the most, the best that they can do. And I always felt like that. Always felt that we had to have a rival, right? Somebody who could handle it. But what I want to talk to you about is the team concept. Team. Okay, for instance, let's say you're going to play Alabama, LSU, this year. Okay, 2 out of 3. All right, is what you want to win. If you can win 2 out of 3, you're going to have 20 wins, and that'll put you in a pretty good place to win the SEC. And if you can sweep one, you know, you're going to be great. If you keep from being swept, you know, so it's a game to game. Everyone counts. You got to get better and better. There's only 30 games in the SEC. You don't have to worry about the other games because, they're like you guys, there's a power rating. And if you play in the SEC, you know, the power rating is going to be high enough because it's the #1 conference in the country. All right, so 2 things have to happen. Okay, one is, while you're playing, you have to think about this 8-team tournament or this 4-team tournament. And the second thing is, you can't be afraid to lose. All right, so here it is. It's a Wednesday night. Maybe 7,000 people on the old Alec box. In comes ULL, or Tulane, or some other team that's in a different conference than us, of course. Now, naturally, I'm not going to pitch an SEC pitcher because I'm going to save mine for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But these guys are likely to throw their ace because they want to catch us. See, like Edwin Moses, they want to catch us. Well, I understand that. but I'm not afraid to lose. That's a great time for you to throw some kid and find out if he'll be a starter for you in the 18 tournament or the 14 tournament. Now, you may lose, but you know. Certainly you don't want to wait for the 5th inning of some tournament game, put him in and see how he does. You're going to test him early. In a game with a large crowd, or in your case, even though there's not a large crowd, there's a large rivalry between the two teams. Okay, and you know it's a big game, even though it's not a conference game, or a district game in your case. But you're going to throw him. Now, doesn't mean you're going to lose if he doesn't pitch well. You know, you can take him out or whatever. But that's how I developed these guys. Don't be afraid, so the moral of that story is don't be afraid to lose a single game at the risk and the reward of having a guy that you now know is pressure-proof and isn't going to give up 2 runs in the top of the first as soon as you get to the regional tournament, or in your case, the district tournament, because he's already done. Then you push him a little further. Remember, if you're in the 18 tournament, you've got to have 5 guys that can pitch. Okay, if you're in the 14 tournament, you got to have 2 studs. But in case you lose, you have to win 2 more games. So in essence, you got to almost have 4 pitchers, and maybe some other guy to mop up, as I said before, close.
Putting the team together, something that I really enjoy. Team dynamics, putting people together so that the sum total, everybody understands, is greater than any one of its parts. Very hard thing to do, but it's got to be done. Right, so we start off by explaining to them, you know, about team. Okay, which I'm going to tell you a couple stories in a moment about team. Remember now, gearing it up for a short tournament, for a 4-team tournament, and then the best 2 out of 3, and then of course an 8-team tournament in Omaha. But you're doing the same thing. Like Nick Saban, you're using all those games as a rehearsal for the real championship games that you have later on. So if you won 5-4 because some guy in the other team had a ball roll through his legs and you played poorly, but you won, you'll have to talk to the boys about that. Hold on a second here. I have Saban's agent here. If I could explain it any better, I probably would do it this way. A lot of good speakers have said plane takes off from New York to London, right? And it's technically off course. That is, it's not exactly on course 95% of the time. But there are navigational instruments, whether the pilot wants to or not, okay, that keep it from going too far off course. And then, of course, just about the time they're ready to land in London and the pilot takes over, the instruments take over and make these tiny, constant adjustments. The thing lands right on time, or right where it's supposed to. That's your job, to make tiny, constant adjustments with your players. This teamwork thing is not, honest to God, it is not easy. It's not some guru-driven mystical process. It is hard work, it's political brokering, where you got 2 guys duking it out at the same position to make sure that they're both happy and so on. And of course there's compromise, where you have to compromise, somebody else has to compromise. Then of course there's trust that's involved. Okay, in the Jewish religion, just before the rabbi, actually after the rabbi pronounces them man and wife, he asks the groom to step on his wine glass that's enclothed, you know, in a cloth napkin. Of course, he steps on it and it smashes. And then the rabbi says something like, "I could never put that glass back together again." But if you took care of that place and you nurtured it, it could last you for generations. So it's kind of a symbol of both fragility and, of course, strength. And that's what your team is. So, at that time, win very often. Okay, I saw better athletes beaten by not so good athletes, but they were better teams. And that's my charge to you tonight. If you want to get ready for that 4-team tournament, 8-team tournament, you want to power up, make sure your schedule is strong enough so that you're going to be there. Then, of course, what you want to do, start now, when you get back out. I'm going to tell you a story that you can use if you'd like to use it. One of the things that I do very, very early, okay, to work on for the tournaments is called, and I've told you this before, it's called the inevitable 2. It's a metaphor for giving up runs in the top of the first or the bottom of the first. It's a lot. If you look back through the history of all the games you've ever had, the way to look back in a computer or some other way, you'll see you gave up runs in the first inning. And the reason that you did that was fourfold. One is, the guy comes out of the bullpen and he doesn't have as good a release point. It takes some time. You know, he comes out of the bullpen, and when I go to the bullpen, I try and make sure, you know, that the guy comes out there at least one pitch, like a fastball away, you know, that he can throw for a strike if he needs it. Okay, I don't want to come out there with 4 pitches from the top of the first. All right, so, but that's a hard one. You know, everybody, and then, like you've heard many times, boy, once you get past the first few innings, man, he's tough to beat. That's true. It's hard to find a release point, but there's more. The number 2 reason is umpires. Not that they're bad. That's not it. It's they're taught to start like this and widen up. So one of the big goals for me is to throw a strike in the first pitch. If I throw a ball, meaning the pitcher throws a ball, it's never going to get any wider for that batter. Okay, so it's a very tight strike zone for the first inning and usually the second inning. Then later on, the guy gets big until the 7th, and he shrinks it down again. Because that's how the game is played. But there's more. Number 3, the other team has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't care who the coach is, those are the 5 best players. Number 9 isn't in this equation. Number 8, he stinks too. Okay, it's the top 5 guys. But wait, there's more. I know this is tough, but there was one night when ULL came, and I'm going to talk to you about Turtle, where I didn't have this. We were playing, there's 7,000 people, and we're throwing Ronnie Rance. You know, who's out here somewhere, you know, and we're trying to make Rance, you know, into the pitcher, which he did. He ultimately won, and we won the national championship, and he was part of the 5 men. All right, well, they go up there, and they have something in the top of the first that your boys have. It's hard to explain, but the adrenaline that's pumping. Their eyes are wider. Their vision is clearer. Okay? They are pumped. And they take these hacks, and they look like they're on every pitch. So Turtle Thomas says, Coach, they got your pitches because they're swinging so hard. And I said to Turtle that the adrenaline in the first inning is unusual from the 5 best hitters. Now, you can't keep that adrenaline. You know, you can't do that because the game is too long. But it's there in the top and the bottom of the first. All right, so the one thing about the tournaments is the inevitable 2. That's just a metaphor. It doesn't mean you're really going to give up 2 runs. It's that we're looking out for it. Now, what can you do to offset it? Well, one is come out of the bullpen with a strike. Okay, that's number 1. Come out of the bullpen with a strike. All right, number 2 is one of the first 2 pitches has to be a strike for every one of those guys. One of the first 2 pitches. I don't want to be 2-0 to anybody in the top of the first and the bottom of the first. Okay, number 3 is I say to the team, and pitchers in the bullpen, and I'm saying to the rest of the team, help Fred out. No inevitable 2. Let's make a great play on defense. Turn a double play and cut the first inning short. Then I look the catcher in the eyes, throw them out if they steal. We'll pick somebody off. We'll get out of the first inning, no inevitable 2. I say that all the time. I have trust. And I said something about the marriage. Just as trust characterizes the attitude of 2 people in a marriage, love categorizes the 2 people in a marriage, trust categorizes the people of a 25 or 18-man squad or whatever you have. And that includes, of course, the trainer or a manager or somebody else who's not actually a player. And what I did was every kid had a baseball. This ball has seams on it, and of course it's paperweight. It's an acrylic, and it's not really crystal, but we call it a crystal ball. It's worth about $6 or $7. Okay, and everybody had one in their locker, and everybody had one in their apartment. Because most people, at least when I was coaching, most people had apartments. And I said to them, when we go to practice or we play, every time I've seen you in this crystal ball, I've seen 2 guys hustle, hug, tell each other how much you care about each other. I've also seen when you weren't the kid that your parents would have been proud of. Well, you lost your temper, you didn't focus, or some other mistake, but it still stays in there. Because there are times when you looked, and I wasn't the leader that I was supposed to be. But that stays right in there. See, if you gotta believe, okay, in the group mentality to have the best team. If some guy drops the ball and it cracks, the core of the team, see, seeps out. Well, I could never stuff that back together, either can you. You can't get that. It's over. Now next year you can start again, but that year is finished. All right, so get some element, that you use. Now it could be a crystal ball like this one, or it could be some other method that you thought of that I didn't give you here tonight, which would be just as good, that you got to believe in. Anything that happens in the locker room, on the field, everything you said, everything 2 guys said to one another, stays there. You can't tell anybody what I said. Okay? I won't tell anybody what you said either. All right? So for a period, it's like all the players tell me, when the game was over and we went to right field, and I had a little mental error book, a little playbook, and if we won, and somebody did something wrong, you were mine for that 20-minute period. I mean, I could say just about anything, because I know that you were never going to repeat it. All right? On the other hand, I'm going to make that point that Saban made. I don't care if we won 14-0. I'm going to make that point that Saban made, because that was a rehearsal for the national championship. I said, kid, what if you did that in Omaha? Sure we won, but we won't win in Omaha if you do that. Okay. They respond to that. Then it closes down. There's a prayer where some guy is listed already beforehand so that he could rehearse it if he wants. It's on the thing. It says 1983. Thanks. Right. In 1983, okay, it then became 84. We weren't especially good. you know, but we won more than we lost. Okay? And, you know, it's hard. You can't build this trust, build this team, usually in 1 year. You have to be very consistent. In the second year of 85, okay, each person was called into the office, and this, not any rope, this rope, okay, with the edges burnt, was put over the desk, and we said to the guy, if you were hanging from this end of the rope, nothing between you and the rope but 1,000-foot fall and certain death. Who would you want holding this end of the rope, knowing that he never let go, he loves you so much, he cares so much, his hands are so strong that you'd feel safe. And of course they gave like real names, you know, like Manny Mantrana, Robbie Smith, Stan Lower, like real names. And of course a lot of names were repeated. Okay, when I went back out to see the team, and of course secluded all the trainers, managers, coaches, and everybody else. And I said to them, fellas, when you can tell me it doesn't matter who holds on to the other end of the rope, as long as he's a teammate of mine. See, then we'll be one. And we'll be free to disagree and kid somebody. Because, you know, and kibitz and do things because we know we're a team. So we took their rope and they put it with adhesive tape, you know, top of the dugout, you know, like this. And occasionally, you know, guys would go by, and occasionally you'd hear them hold on to the rope. All right. 1985 was a good team. Ooh, real good. Burke, you on that team? Yeah, 1985 was good. You were still there, right? We had a good team. And we had good athletes. Okay, and we comes down to the final game. This is a true story. Comes out to the final game at Auburn, where Coach Baird, good coach, has a kind of a young team, not nearly as physical and as good as ours. And if we win this one, then the SEC championship will be at Alec Box in those days. Okay, and if we don't, Mississippi State wins automatically. You know, they had, so that's where we were. We only had to win 2 out of 3. Well, naturally, we played 2 on Saturday, and naturally we split. All right, so now the game comes down to 1-1 at the end of 9. Naturally, we got to go to the extra end. All right, we score in the 10th. We're better than Auburn at this time. But we had never, you know, we weren't used to winning. Didn't know how, quite frankly. And had a lot of bad body language. So we're going to win. We got a guy at, they got a guy at second. And a left-hander slices one to left field. And so I can see it, you know, as I look out from the dugout, I can see it. Manny Mantrana, like a real guy. Good player, good kid, coaching today at Utah. Great kid. He's going for the ball, and I can see he's got this ball. But I can also see the other players in front of me. This is bad body language. So, you know. They didn't think, well, anyway, he gets to the ball, and it hits his webbing, and it drops to the ground. Okay, now the score is 2-2. Okay, no problem. All right, I gotta do what you gotta do. Win. What's important now? W-I-N. What's important now? What's important now is to believe in one another. We're better than these guys. Come on. Well, nobody scores in the next inning. Okay, and now we're going to beat them with a man at third and 2 outs, and I bring in Eric Hetzel. Hetzel pitched in the big league. The problem is he pitched the night before, of course, but he's going to get this one guy. That's how important it is. Okay, Hetzel is going to throw all fastballs, which is, you know, what he did well. And so we're going to get this guy, right? And I swear to God, they got a guy up that has not hit He's 0 for 0. But he was left-handed, so Coach Baird put him up there. Okay? And I said, we're going all fastballs. Stay in the middle of the plate. And we'll win this ball game. I said, right? Yeah, right. And then when I turned to walk back to the dugout, see, I saw that body language again. You know? I thought, what's going to happen? Pacing, doing things like, all right, and I thought, oh, crap. And they should have felt the wind by now. They should have thought, we got this one wrapped up. But unlike football, where there's a time limit, or basketball, where there's no time limit. They got to have the 27 outs. And here it is. The guy's up for his last out. Hetzel's got 0-2, 1-2. He throws, the kid goes, and he bloops it over Marty Lanew's head, the guy at third base. Okay, and they tied the score again. Okay, what's important now, win. Well, even trust the guys. Trust we're going to do this. So I have to send Stan Lower, a freshman, sophomore, out for the next inning. They had nobody, and of course Lower had pitched most of the game the night before. Okay, Lower works himself into a first and second with 2 outs. Okay, he's, a little wild, and mostly all fastballs. And then he turns around, and he's rubbing the ball up, looking in the outfield. Real good tip for you. They've got a flagpole. Like I tell pitchers, flagpole, just look at the very top of the ball of the flagpole. Something that can focus on, to clear your mind. Or take your middle finger and your thumb, push them really hard together so that you can clear your head. Well, he was doing that. But most importantly, a guy by the name of Robbie Smith stepped up on the edge of the dugout and he said, Stan, hold on to the rope. Hold on. All right, now, that changed a lot of things. I heard Lanew at third base turn to Rebele at shortstop, right? And Rebele said, hold on to the rope, and some big guy at first base, John Dixon, said, hold on to the rope, and Leary, the catcher, had the mask over here. And he got a ball, and he said, Stanley. He got the mask out, hold on to the rope, and he threw the ball back. See that different? And I'm just sitting in the dugout, and I looked up, and now I see everybody's at the edge of the dugout. See, they're smelling this one. Lower goes to throw from his stretch. I don't have a radar gun, but he threw faster than he did for the prior 4 batters. And he works it with 4 fastballs to 2-2. And the next pitch, hard, good pitch. He gets in on the guy, and the guy hits a ball down on the ground that's going up toward Rebele at short. Okay? And instead of this, everybody took off out onto the field. So Rebele picked it up, flipped it over to Burke Broussard, and we were the champs.